Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Sports. The Springboks are set to play a fifth match on the end of year tour, and it's supposedly a grudge match, a repeat of that historic 2015 loss to Japan in Brighton, is what is being reported, with the Boks set to get their 15th match of the season confirmed and a 14th test match to make it one of the longest Springbok seasons we've ever had. And that is absolutely crucial in trying to build to the 2027 Rugby World Cup. Rassie Erasmus has indicated that he wants to try and give players opportunities and try and build squad depth. However, if we're going to be brutally honest, the last 4 weeks didn't really do it to the extent we would have liked to have done, because the performances, especially against Italy in that first game and against Georgia in the final game, weren't quite up to standard. As a result, we have seen a Springbok squad announcement being postponed. We have had Rassie Erasmus, confirm that he didn't manage to sort of name the teams he wanted to. He had to tweak his side for the second test. He wants to try and bring a few players back for that Georgia test, but he said that given the performances, he had to try and change a few things. And it's going to be very interesting to see how we now use the Rugby Championship, because the goal of the Rugby Championship is very simple. It's to win it. However, we are now running out of time to make big decisions, because I think one of the reasons that the squad announcement is being delayed is we've got some of our top players not necessarily playing at the best of their ability. However, we have now been given a potential 5-match end of year tour. I mean, when was the last time we had a 5-match end of year tour? I actually can't remember if we've ever had one. But now we're going to have an opportunity where we can actually do a bit of rotation. And we're going to have a little look at how the tour is currently played out and where this game potentially against Japan might sort of fit in. Before we do that, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. So at the moment, the first weekend of the Quilter Autumn Leisure Series, by the way, it's got a new sponsorship and it was announced very recently, will begin on Saturday the 1st of November. England are taking on Australia at 5:10 South African time. Scotland taking on USA. Now, it is on this day that the game is currently scheduled for, but it will be in England, not in Japan. But it can't be at Twickenham because of the game between England and Australia, and therefore it is set to take place in Brighton. And it'll be interesting to sort of see, what that team might look like, because this is what our tour currently looks like. So at the moment, we're not playing on the 1st of November. Right now, we are slated to have our first game on the 8th of November, which is against France at 10:10 at night. I mean, just by the way, what a day of rugby this is. Ireland versus Japan, Scotland, New Zealand, and England versus Fiji, France versus South Africa, and on Sunday, Wales versus Argentina. So a pretty good weekend of rugby, by the way. Anyway, but we've got France in our first test. Then, the weekend after, we go and we play against Italy. In Italy. It's very confusing having the Allianz Stadium and Allianz Stadium. They are two different stadiums, not the same stadium. So we've got that test against Italy then a week later. Then we've got Ireland, the big one, 8:20 on the 22nd of November. And we finish the tour against Wales. We are the only team playing on the 29th of November. So the thinking at the moment is to try and get a game on the 1st of November. Now, the big thing that I think this offers us is we're talking about two big games in Ireland and France. We're talking about a game where you should be able to rotate in Wales, and potentially another game where you should be able to rotate in Italy. Now we're adding a game against Japan, which means we've now got 5 games. Now, as a result of having 5 games, you will have to name probably a slightly bigger squad. You will have to rotate more than you would have in a 4-game series. So this presents opportunities to try and rotate a little bit. For me, it'll be interesting to see as if we then go potentially pretty strong against Japan to get a bit of a hit out, get a bit of a practice match, really. And then we take on France, who will not be playing the weekend before, so might be able to catch them a little bit off guard, because the last time they would have fully played together, really as a first team, would have been about April in the Six Nations, because they sent a very rotated side to New Zealand. So there's an opportunity there. We get a bit of a hit out over here. We kind of put some stuff together. We would have played more recently anyway, having played in the Rugby Championship, and maybe might be able to take France by surprise. Then potentially we could rest a bunch of players against Italy. It's also an early kickoff, for example, and then you've got a full week to prepare for Ireland. And once you've gone through that match, then you can kind of roll the dice really and kind of play whoever you need to in the final game against Wales at the Principality Stadium. So it's a very important match for me in being able to create a tour that provides opportunities for rotation, because we want to see us try and grow the squad. But I also want to make sure we need to be beating France. We need to be beating Ireland. And obviously, you don't want to sort of come off and come short against an Italy in Italy, or Wales and Wales, which I just don't think we will. So it's basically 2 games you've got to really focus on. And then the others, well, you can potentially rotate. Or even if it's not necessarily rotation, we talk about getting plans right and trying to grow our game. And again, an additional game is so valuable in doing that. I mean, if we didn't have the Barbarians game, we didn't have potentially this Japanese game, and all of a sudden you only had 13 games, of which 6 of them take place in the Rugby Championship and are basically must-wins, and you've got 2 games against Ireland and France, half the season kind of becomes, games where you have to basically play your strongest possible teams to try and go and win. Now, I'm not saying we necessarily have to play our strongest team against Australia, but we can't really afford to underestimate them, because we need to make sure that we go into that 2-match series against New Zealand in the Rugby Championship 2-0 up against Australia, and maybe hope that Argentina might be able to do us a favour. But we need to go into those 2 matches against New Zealand 2-0 up, because if we can then get 1 win over them, even if we lose a 6th game, for example, that puts us in a really strong position to try and win the Rugby Championship, which is the goal for the year. For me, the goal for the year is to win the Rugby Championship, beat Ireland, and beat France. Those are the 2 things that I'd like to see us do. And then I think it becomes a successful year. After that, obviously you want to try and rotate a little bit. I mean, we haven't lost a game yet. We're 4 from 4, for example. Hopefully after Australia, it'll be 6 from 6. I personally think that any more than about 3 losses, 2 to 3 losses this year, will be a bit of an iffy year. Lots of people are saying that we need to go basically, 15 out of 15, which I just don't think particularly likely. We probably will drop a game somewhere. All teams do. Even New Zealand in the absolute peak, every now and again dropped a game here and there. So the question is, how do we sort of navigate this? I mean, we haven't got confirmation just yet, but it does seem pretty likely. They were speaking about the fact throughout the last few months they want to get an additional game. We wondered if they wanted to maybe look at doing it after this incoming series, or potentially this coming weekend, given the fact that there's a slight delay to the start of the Rugby Championship because of the British and Irish Lions. Usually the Rugby Championship probably would have been starting in about 2 weeks' time. We probably would have had our first game on about the 12th, I think, or 12th, 13th, whatever, around there that weekend. We're now having the weekend later. As a result, the Rugby Championship's actually falling into October. So there actually won't be a big turnaround. And that's another interesting part of it, is if you look at our final match on the 4th of October, if we then play on the 1st of November, there's just 3 weekends in between there, which is not going to be particularly popular with the URC franchises. And what I need to understand is when the, Section 9 comes in with regards to player availability, because, for example, last year we played a game, was it last year or the year before? I think we played a game outside of when, the international official window was. As a result, we had to get special dispensation from our Japanese-based players and our URC players to actually participate in that match. Premiership and top 14 matches weren't available. So let me know what you think about this possible game against Japan. Where would you rotate? Where would you go full strength? Let me know down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.